Welcome, friends, to another episode of Coffee Conversation. We are meeting on Friday evening at 7:35. Uh, what happened to me? This thing. Yeah. So today's episode is about podcasting. Seven simple secrets to totally rocking your podcasting. Podcasting is an in thing, not bigger than YouTube, but definitely. And
Yes.
we have amongst us a young guest speaker. I'll just introduce her, Amrita Sukumar. She's an architect by profession, focusing on residential buildings, likes to meet new people, a voice artist, and a host. She has got her own podcasting show, the Unsettling podcast, and we she has hosted many people on a podcast. Uh, the Coffee Conversation is powered by the Emerging India Forum and Lions Club of Bomba Shining. We are three hosts, but me, Lion Amir Virani, Mansoor Thakral, and Ankita Jain. But today, two of us on the show. She is traveling. Uh,
Okay.
so, welcome Amrita to the Coffee Conversation show. Mansoor, you can take over.
All right. Am I audible, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, at
All
least
right.
to me, you are audible. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Amir.
Okay. Yeah, my
All right.
pleasure.
All right, Amrita. So the most basic thing, the most basic question I'm going to start with today. What
Yeah.
is a podcast?
I so knew it. Okay. So I have done my research. I went on the internet and I studied today for today's test. This is the first time I have been on a live and I've been answering questions. So to begin with, I would say podcast is nothing but an audio series. So if you have a number of podcast episodes that you have been posting and people are following you to listen to what you have been trying to tell them, then that is nothing but a podcast. Okay, so you can have a series of 5 episodes, 8 episodes, 10 episodes, depends on you. Nobody is forcing you because it's still a niche. This it's still a niche field, right? Nobody has still ventured into it yet.
Right.
So whatever you do, it works fine.
Okay. So are there any key ingredients in having like a good podcast? So like when we talk about movies, we have the mid, the start, the end. So is there something like a key ingredients in making a podcast?
Okay. So again, as I said, it's a niche industry yet. Like people are still trying to get their foot in the door, and they're still trying to understand what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say that the key ingredients are nothing but what you would like to do. So if for example, you want to host a podcast by yourself, it works fine. If you want to do it as an interview format, that also works fine. If you want to give some kind of information based on the work that you have done till now and you want to break it down and just tell people as lessons, that also works. It can be related to health, relationships, something that you really like, maybe Pokemon or Game of Thrones. Anything works. Okay, so when it comes to the theme, there's no problem at all. You can choose whatever you wish to. But when it comes to listening, like as an audience, I would just like to give you a few pointers as an audience and as a host. That one, you have to have a certain theme in mind. Like if you have a theme in mind, what is going to happen is that it is going to help you as the host to create a structure. So when you create a structure, what happens is that even the people who are listening to you, they know what is happening, right? Otherwise, what happens is the conversation goes really haphazard. That also works. That also definitely works. As long as the conversation is entertaining, that works. But if you wish to have a specific, time frame for your podcast episode, then it is very necessary that you have a structure so that everything is fit within the framework. Also, what would help is to have good audio quality, because if you have a lot of background noises like what is happening right now, there are cars going around and that sounds really horrible to the person who's hearing. They might lose interest. They're like, "Kya hai ye? Awaaz nahi aana chahiye." Everything should be clear. So I think these are the few ingredients that are important, but otherwise everything is still open to interpretation. You can do whatever you wish.
All right. So what kind of equipments do we look when we like want to start a podcast or anything? Anything specific?
Oh my God. So I would just like to tell you one thing. See, now, for example, this format that is happening, this coffee conversation is also kind of a podcast where you're talking to different people. And you started with nothing but a phone,
Right.
right? You have a phone, you decided I'm going Instagram live, I'm just going to talk to people, and whoever is interested will come listen.
That's
So
fair
this
enough.
is exactly what I did. I had a phone. There's a recording option in the phone. I called
Okay.
up all the people. I said, you speak, I'll record.
Okay.
And then I edited it. That's all I did. Okay, so beginning a podcast is not a big deal. You have a recording option in your phone, you can record on it. There's a simple software called Audacity, which you can
Okay.
download, and it's very easy to learn. It's not at all difficult. It's a free software, very easy to learn. You can just practice the basics of the internet. There are a lot of tutorials out there. It's very easy, and you're good to go. Like nobody's going to stop you. So also you would of course require a hosting platform, right? If once you have the
Yeah.
podcast ready, once your theme is ready, once you've recorded it on your phone or any other platform, you can even record it on Audacity if you wish to. So after that, you need a hosting platform because that is how people are going to broadcast your podcast, and it is going to reach a lot of people. So what you have to do, there are two. One is Anchor and one is Hubhopper. Anchor is an international one where you can just post your episode online, and there's a RSS feed created. Okay, now I'm going into the technicalities. I don't
All
know
right.
how difficult or how easy it is to understand. So now what happens is that एक link तैयार हो जाता है, ठीक है? There's one link that is created. Now that link you can copy anywhere. Now, for example, I started hosting my podcast on Anchor because that is a platform that I found easier. Hubhopper is an Indian platform that is also good, but you have to manually keep on uploading all the episodes there as well. So now there's a link created called an RSS link, which you can use to upload your platform on upload your podcast on different platforms like Spotify or Apple or Google or Amazon or Ghana.com, Savan Music, Amazon Music, so many, right? So what happens is I started uploading my podcast only on Anchor. Now these other platforms, they picked up this RSS link and started promoting it on their platforms. Like even
Okay.
Kuku FM is there in India. They also started promoting it. Amazon Music picked it up. Ghana has given me a choice. I still have to upload it there. So
Okay.
what happens is there's an RSS link created, which makes it easy for other platforms to pick up your podcast and promote it on their platforms.
Okay.
So this is like a basic. It's not that technical. It's very easy once you go on the internet and just Google. It helps you a lot. It's not difficult, trust me. I hope it's clear for the audience.
No, it is. It is definitely.
Yeah.
So, which one is your favorite platform?
My favorite would be Anchor, yeah. As I said, Anchor is very easy. I started off Anchor. You can record your episodes on Anchor. So what happened is once I was done with the phone, so phone quality, audio quality was not that great. So then I moved on to Anchor. So Anchor you can download as an app on your phone, and on that you can record. So that makes it easier. So you record on Anchor, edit on Anchor, and then you directly post it. All you have to do is make a small graphic art about your, I mean, it can be, what do you say, a logo of your podcast that you can post, and that's it. It's very easy. So Anchor made it much more easier for me to record and publish episodes later on. So that's what I'm sticking with even now.
And how much time has become like you have used Anchor?
How much time, sorry?
Like, how long have you been using Anchor now?
Oh, it's, how long have I been running the podcast? It's
Yeah.
1.5 years now.
1.5 years. So you have for 1.5 years always been stuck on Anchor.
Yes. Loyal customer. Yes.
I have one query. One question. If someone has your recorded audio,
Yes.
so that can be also uploaded on Anchor app and edited, and on podcasting we can do it.
Yes. So if you already have a recorded audio and you wish to edit it on Anchor, that is also possible. You can upload it and edit it on Anchor. But I find it easier to edit it on Audacity because it has a lot more options like clearing the background noise and amplifying your sound, as well as, what do you say? If you want to increase the volume of a particular person, just a small portion, that also you can do on Audacity. So that is why I choose Audacity more than Anchor. So that is when I switched.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I hope you have Googled this one. So when did podcast actually start internationally and then came to India?
Yeah. This sounds like कौन बनेगा करोड़पति? क्या मुझे 1 करोड़ मिलेंगे? मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ पहले.
तो आज किसको मिलने वाला है? अमृता को ही.
I feel like anytime now Amitabh Bachchan is going to come and yell 8 crore. So I'm just waiting. But according to the internet and whatever information I have, podcasting started, I think, in the 1980s, technically, when radio started, right? And they had to communicate amongst the networks, and it was very difficult, and World Wide Web was not there. So then they created a software which allowed them to download the music and distribute it amongst themselves so that they could broadcast it. But then internationally, I think it started in 2004 when there were two people. One is Adam Curry and Dave Weiner, who decided that they wanted everything on their iPod.
Okay.
And they created a software which helped them download it and listen to it whenever they wished to. When they went running or whenever they did not want to talk to some people, they're like, oh, chalo bas. So that is when it started in 2004. But in 2005, it was introduced in India because, well, iTunes was introduced in India then.
Right.
And that is when people knew about podcasting, and that is how it started.
Okay.
But I think it caught on now recently, right? Before the lockdown, I mean, people were like, they were kind of bored of listening to music, and they said, let's make this drive to office very educational.
Yeah.
So that is when they started listening to podcasts. And well, now I guess nobody's going to office. They're all working from home, but hopefully they're still listening to the podcast. That's what I hope.
Okay. So, Amrita, what skills do you require to like start a podcast, or like, what skills? Suppose if I'm thinking to start a podcast, I don't have that great of a voice right now or something like that.
Oh.
So how do I start it?
Okay, I would say voice is a criterion, right? See,
Yeah.
if you see, you always feel that the greatest content comes from perfection,
Yeah.
right? It's not. It's not. You feel, hey, I have to have the perfect voice, the perfect content, the perfect idea to be able to pitch myself. No. All you need is you need the passion to do it. Okay? So for example, if you enjoy talking about, say, technology, and you have a lot of knowledge about it, and the knowledge is actually very helpful for people who are starting out into this field. So even if you have like a 5-minute episode or 5-minute content that you want to put out there, nothing, you just record it on Anchor, you just add one intro, add one outro, and just put it out there. People will listen to you. People will listen to you because it is something that is giving them knowledge. It is something that they wouldn't have maybe learned in college, right? It is from your experience. As long as the content is resonating with them, it works.
Right.
You don't have to be the greatest voice out there. You don't have to have the greatest equipment. See, I told you, I started with a phone.
Right.
I started with a phone. That's it. So all that you need is a passion to start it, and just do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. That's all I would say.
Fair enough. Okay. So if you could name a few international podcasters and Indian podcasters that are like killing it these days.
Oh, okay. So, see, I will tell you one thing, okay?
Yeah.
So, podcasting, there are a lot of niches, as I mentioned. Everything, there are different segments in it. So, for me, I wouldn't say they are national, international famous, because internationally, I think BBC is famous, the news channel.
Yeah.
But for me, Joe Rogan is somebody who has inspired a lot of people. And that is one person that I follow. There's another person called Tim Ferriss. He's got a show called Tim Ferriss Show. And he talks to these amazing, successful human beings and asks them about their habits and how they became who they are today based on the habits that they've been following. And he compiled all of them in a very nice book called Tools of Titans. And he divided them into segments called money, health, relationships, so that if you wish to get any sort of information on how to excel at it, you can just open one page, read it, use that application in your life. That's it. And we're sorted. So for me, Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss internationally, and nationally, I mean, there are a lot of famous people, but I would personally love to promote the people who have come on my podcast and have podcasts of their own. So there's one by Piyush Agarwal, who is who has a podcast called Kahani Jani Anjani. So
Okay.
he has this beautiful Hindi stories that he tells on his podcast, and people have been following him for a very, very long time. He's got more than 50,000 downloads, and he's doing really well. The second person is Amrita Samant, Mommy Shots by Amrita, most commonly known. She's got the Amrita Samant podcast, and she teaches you how to use your camera really well. So she gives you photography tips, which is really nice. And the third person who has come on my podcast, who has a podcast of his own, is Nishkash Sharma. And he is an expert in drop shipping, if you know what that is. So drop shipping is where you buy things for a lesser amount and then sell it on your website for a larger amount so that, people buy it from you and you get a marginal profit. So he tells you how to do it, how to set up an e-commerce website. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check him out. These are the three people I would personally recommend.
Great insight on that. Okay. So let's say I've started my podcast. Okay. I've done like 10 episodes and everything. So how should I upgrade myself, like my skills and stuff like that?
Okay. So what you will learn is that how the audience is responding to you, right? So once you start putting your content out there is when you realize that, hey, this is working, this is not working. These are the things I should be focusing on. These are the things I shouldn't be focusing on. Also, what happens is that once you start putting your podcast out there, you start watching other podcasters and checking out what they do. Now, I'll give you an example. So when I started out, I did not have particular questions for people. So I had a general questionnaire that I used to follow for the first 3 episodes at least, that I used to ask everybody, generic questions. Yahi hai. So aapka naam kya hai, kahan se aaye ho, what, not, last message. Okay. And then I realized, hey, this is getting boring. What is same questions every time? I, as a listener, I'm getting boring. How do I make it interesting? So I said, let us ask people based on what they like. Okay. So I used to talk to them for 5-10 minutes. And then I used to understand what they really like, what they're passionate about, and then create a questionnaire based on that. So now what happened in that case is that people were more excited to talk. They were more passionate. You could see that passion in their eyes and in their voice. So that episode became more interesting, right? Then the third thing that happened was, now I'm hosting another podcast as well, along with mine, which I'm not allowed to divulge details about. But what I realized for that is that I did a little bit of research. And I realized that, my questions are very, long answer type questions. सब 20 मार्क के क्वेश्चन है कि 20 मार्क के क्वेश्चन पूछे तो लोग बहुत ही बोलते जा रहे and the host is not getting a chance to talk, or there is nothing fun or upbeat about it. I want something fun, beach me. So now what that host had done is, pehle short answer, then match the following, then long answer type question. So she had asked, what are the 3 things you love? Or what is one thing that inspires you? So what happened in that case is that the audience was also hooked. Like, I looked at it from a perspective of the audience. I was also hooked. Oh, what next? What do you like? Oh, really? I want to know more. So that happened. And towards the end came the 20-mark questions where, what inspires you? What are the heavy things? Those heavy questions that came towards the end. And till that time, the audience was already hooked because there were short answer questions. So this is how I personally improved as a host. So, I mean, you will learn, you will have your own trajectory, because as I said, this is not something that has a structure. It is still up and coming. So you will find your own trajectory. You will find things you love. You will find ways to improve. And I'm sure if you start your podcast, by the end of 1 year, you yourself will tell me, I started here and now I'm here. So I'm sure of that.
Right. Okay. So now the important cliche question. How, if someone is interested in like making a career, how does they turn a podcast into an income source?
Okay, so this is the most difficult question, and I have one answer for it. I have actually 2-3 answers for it, but I'll tell you one answer. So you, as I said, and as I keep mentioning, that podcasting is still niche, still up and coming. Right. So what happens is, as I said, there are categories in podcasting. It is health, relationships, education, infotainment, whatever it is. There are demarcations. In those demarcations, there are a few people who are listening. Okay, the listener base is still small. It is still up and coming. So if you don't know, you don't have to have a large number of audience to be able to be successful in the podcasting industry. If you have 100 downloads or 200 downloads, you are still in the top 50% of the podcasting world. So if you have a consistent download base of maybe 100, 200 hits per episode, what is going to happen is your podcast will start trending. Once it starts trending and once the platform realizes, platform like Spotify or Savan or whichever platform you're on, realizes that, hey, people are listening to this, then you can get into a collaboration with them where they sponsor your episode and then you get a particular pertaining amount, just like YouTube. Like they put ads on your episode and then you get some percentage of it as an amount. That takes a lot of time. That is one thing that I would love to mention. If you keep on looking at your numbers, you're going to cry. Don't cry. Find something that you're passionate about and keep doing it. Otherwise, you will just lose out interest, and that should not happen. Secondly is you can get into collaboration with different brands yourself. Like you tell people that this is the amount, this is my niche topic, and this is the kind of audience base that I have. This is an organic base that I have, and it would be wonderful if you would be willing to share. I mean, collaborate with us, and we would be promoting your brand on our channel, right? That is one way to get money. That is the second way to get money. And the third way would be, I'm going to be very blunt and honest, is if there are guests coming on your podcast and you already have a very nice base, you can always ask anybody who's coming on your podcast just because they want to be a part of that crew, you can ask them to help you in some way or donate some kind of money.
Okay.
that is one way to work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the full professional insight. So
Yes.
now we have to know like what exactly Amrita is and all the personal details. So over to you, Amir sir.
Yeah. So, Amrita, why did you become a podcaster?
Okay.
What made you? First question will be that because.
Yes, so as you mentioned before, I'm an architect, and so I was working in the field for 3 years. I'm still working. I work as a freelance architect now. But what had happened was I took a break. I needed a break from the work culture that was going around there, and I decided this is not something I cannot sit idle. So what do I do next? And the idea came in the form of a relative. I'll be very honest. It's the most funniest story that has ever happened to me. One of my relatives came and he was 24 years old. He sat with his head in his hands and he was like, "Dee, I don't know what to do next with my life." And I thought, hey, it's not just me. It's not just my friend. It's everybody. You start at 16 where you have 3 options kept in front of you. Be an architect, a doctor, an engineer. And nobody tells you what are the other options out there unless you do your research and find it out yourself. So you are under peer pressure and you just follow the masses, and then you pass out at 24 and then you don't know what to do. So I thought, and at the same time people would ask you, hey beta, when are you getting settled? Settle aja beta. And nobody tells you what settling means, right? So I said, let us ask people what does settling mean to them. And at the same time, try to find people who have done something completely offbeat, and just ask them what does settling mean to them and how did they find this path. So that is when this began. And honestly, what had happened was I was very skeptical. I personally am an overthinker. So when you asked me how will you start a podcast, I'm like, I thought so much before starting my own podcast. So I was overthinking for a long time, and then one of my friends said, I just called up one of my friends and I said, see, I have one idea. I don't know how to start. Can we begin? And he said, chalo, let's do it right now. And I was not prepared. I just had those generic questions. And he said, let's do it. If it goes well, fine. If it doesn't go well, let's re-record. So then we just started, and it went well. It went well considering the fact that it was just a random conversation that we had. And then I posted it. And then I had 3, 4 friends in my kitty who were ready to be scapegoats. I got them on board. And then later on, I took this idea. I started approaching other people. They loved this idea, and it just cannonballed. It's cannonballing since. So that's how it started, and that's how it is now.
So my next question will be, Amrita, you already gave half the answer. Why the title, Unsettling Podcast? Why you're
Yes.
so
So as I mentioned,
concerned and why people are not settling?
right. So as I mentioned, everybody's asking you, beta, when are you getting settled? And I realized that there are so many people who don't know the answer. Like even the people who are asking you the question, I think they are trying to find the answer from you. Like, beta, when are you getting settled? तो मुझे भी बताओ, मैं भी बताऊं. मुझे ऐसा लगता है people are just confused the whole time. And I don't think we are living in an era where, our parents used to, for them, settling meant something, right? Because they were coming from a background where they had to struggle a lot to just
Right.
make ends meet. So when settling came for them, it made more sense because they were trying to find, as they said, घर बनाना है, पैसे कमाने हैं, बच्चों को पढ़ाना है. And for them, that was like survival. For us, it is not survival. We have the privilege, thankfully, or I don't know what to say, but we have the privilege to explore because our parents have already given us that kind of backing, the financial backing that we need to explore. So we don't fall into that category anymore. And there are so many new avenues coming out. There are so many new things like digital marketing. There's this Instagram influencer. People are dancing and earning money, painting and earning money, which was not there before. And we are not moving forward with it because we don't have the knowledge. So I thought, why not give this knowledge in a very nice packaged way with fun stories to people so that people who are 16 and are still starting out get the knowledge that they need. And also people who are our age and are confused about what they want to do also get the information that they need. So that's how the Unsettling podcast was born.
I just want to share something.
Yes.
Netflix serial. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's this lady lawyer who like fierce, independent, and her brother made a comment. She's trying to discover herself.
Oh.
The story, yeah. So in life, your unsettling is like thing you are discovering yourself through your. People are trying to discover themselves through your podcast.
Yes. Hopefully.
You must be thing. Those so my next question will be, who is your sorry? Which podcast do you listen regularly and why?
Which podcast would I listen regularly?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started with The Break School. So there's a podcast called The Break School. It is not that famous. I don't know whether people know about it. So in that, what this person had done was he interviewed people and gave them the tools to start something. Like if you are, for example, want to be a YouTuber, he interviewed a YouTuber and asked them relevant questions like, how much time did it take for you to struggle? What is the investment that you had to do to become a YouTuber? And how would you suggest that people follow this trend or become someone like you? What would they require to be someone like you? And as the name suggests, like break school. So he wanted to break the idea that you had to go to school to get the kind of exposure that you needed. So that is one podcast that I followed before I started my podcast, and I would say that I'm still listening to that person, and it's really nice. So if someone can go support his work, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So my next question will be, you have experience of 1.5 years, so share some tips for listeners today about how you market your podcast and what are the speakers, on what basis do you select your speakers?
Okay. So as I mentioned before, I have a theme. So that is one of the basic criterion to start a podcast. I have a theme that is called the Unsettling theme. So I find people who have broken the stereotypes, have changed their career, either changed their career or are talking about a taboo topic. Like menstruation is a topic that is taboo. Fat shaming is something that is like that people talk about, body positivity. So that is taboo. LGBTQIA, I'm still unable to find someone to come and represent them. So I'm trying to get them on board. So these are the topics that I'm covering. I'm covering topics that are taboo completely in the society, and there's like the society is still trying to grasp it. So that those are the kind of people who come on my episode. So what I do is first I find them on the internet. There is no better way to find people anymore. That is how we met. So we find them on the internet, and then yeah, I send them emails. I have a proper format where I write a proper email to them, and they love the theme. So since they love the theme, most of them agree to it. There are people who disagree or do not respond, which is okay. Maybe it doesn't resonate with them. That's fine. I'm sorry, I missed your first question. This was the second part of the question.
Speaker thing you told. Tips. How do you promote?
Oh, promote. Yes. So I promote it on all platforms. That is Instagram. I have a feed, a grid way in which I very nicely decorate these people who come on the podcast. Because that is what I've been told. The grid looks very beautiful, and Instagram is a visual feed. So as long as it's visual and beautiful, people love watching it. Secondly, I promote it on YouTube. It is there on all the platforms and I promote it on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. So I do that. I definitely write a very nice, beautiful essay about these people and I post it everywhere so that everyone gets an insight into their lives. Also, if possible, I go live with them if they have the time so that, once the episode is live, we just give small gists about what is going to happen and what is going to come so that people get intrigued and then they come on board. That's all I do.
Good tips. Now, there must be some role model in your life. Who's that person?
Oh my God. So, you know what? I did have a role model and I still follow her. So she's unrelated to the field, by the way. I love Priyanka Chopra because she's this amazing, dynamic woman who just breaks glass ceilings. But once I started the podcast, I realized that I think every single person is a role model, right? Every single person is a real human being. We just put them on a pedestal. Like we feel, oh my God, these people are unreachable. We can't talk to them. But once you talk to them is when you realize they are the same human beings, vulnerable like us, have this beautiful, gorgeous interior that you need to understand. So every person will teach you something or the other. And you just have to look. So if you look around, you'll find the inspiration.
Good. So now we hope you will go international like PC.
I hope so too.
Fingers crossed. Now
Yes.
we're having a rapid fire.
Oh my God.
Describe in one word, Amrita.
Confident.
Who inspires Amrita?
My brother.
What are your hobbies, Amrita?
My hobbies, I have a lot of them. How many can I mention in this rapid fire?
Go
How many
on.
are
This
you?
is a
I
rap-
like
How
reading,
many you?
I like reading, I like talking to people, I like visiting new places, I like sewing. I sew my own clothes. I like learning new things, basically. Whatever helps me learn new things, that's what I do.
Interesting. So we have come to the end. Amrita, means you have in a short period of time. I hope viewers have learned many new things about you, and you have shared many new things about podcasting, and that's wonderful over here. Mansoor, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, Amrita, I just want to add one last question. Okay, this is the
Okay.
personal one. So, how are you able to keep yourself like confident and like keep that energy, keep going continuously?
I would just say, okay, I would just say you have to find your passion. Okay. If you like doing something, find it, see whether you can make a living out of it. If that is working, that's fine. If you can't, still do it as a hobby, because that is what is going to give you that energy to wake up every morning. And I found this inspiration in a very weird way, I would say. There's this comedian called Daniel Fernandez. I don't want to follow him. So he's got this wonderful show called Shadows on YouTube, which is for free. And in that, he had mentioned as one of the jokes, mind you, that every person has their strengths in their DNA. It's built in, right? So as the deer knows that it has to run away from a lion, similarly, we know what we are good at. So if you can find that one thing that you really love, that you're made for, it's definitely there in you. Maybe you like painting, maybe you like talking to people, maybe you like creating poetry. That is what is going to help you get up from your bed every single morning and just keep doing what you do. And otherwise, well, be content with what you do and be unsettled. That is the best way to stay happy. Also listening to the Unsettling podcast if possible.
Definitely.
Definitely on that.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you. If your list is done, since I'm a podcaster, I thought I'll just.
But it's our show.
Yes.
But it's our show. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So when did you start Coffee Conversations? When did this idea germinate?
So same thing like the journey started in 1st April. So
my birthday.
Huh?
It's my birthday. I'm born on Tuesday.
Okay. So but the seed was planted before that. We were just planning to do some chat show. I've got my own chat, the BSS show, personal, which talks about business support service tips for startups SMEs. So that was my journey into coming on camera and talking about different things. So we were just contemplating to have a chat show. So various thoughts were coming up. And then we three were just having a conversation and suddenly, let's go live. And we made the creative and everything, and that's the journey we started. Coffee Conversation. So earlier it was double C, Coffee Conversation. So later on, then we came up with this trademark K, Coffee with Karan. So Coffee Conversation. So we made our logo, everything, and So we have done various coffee conversations on Insta, on Zoom, with different personalities. Coffee Conversation is all about trending topic with an industry expert. So we do it in 2 formats. Like part A is about the topic, part B is about the personal journey, the professional journey. So in an informal format. So we have done on design hacks, we have done on ROC compliance, we have done on data privacy, we have done on art-based therapy, many more. So we keep continuing. We get recommendations to invite guest speakers, and the journey. So sometime back we had on this thing, this neuromarketing.
Okay.
Ayushi Podar. She's a young digital marketer, but her niche is neuromarketing.
This is new.
So your topic is also very unique. Unsettling podcast, which attracted. That's why you got selected. Invite selective people to our coffee conversations. Like those persons who come as guest speakers to become part of our family. Stay connected, and So every now and then in the conversations we have got hook line.
Right.
So you have also made some hook line ke Amitabh Bachchan aa jayega. Easy.
I'm glad that's what you want. Right.
So So we have done our shows on Insta, on Facebook, Now we'll be going on. We have done on intellectual property also. So yeah. So now we are coming up with special segments. So for different industries. This one will remain generic ones, but we have got requests to have industry specific also. So we are coming up with that also. So, yeah. So this is our journey in short. So we three are there. Unfortunately, Ankita is not over here. Uh, so we two are from Mumbai, and Ankita is from Jaipur. So we three friends, the founders of the Emerging India Forum also. So Emerging India Forum is all about it's a learning initiative to empower India. So one is a coffee conversation. Second is a advantage learning webinar series, and third is the events. So this is in some ways we can contribute to the learning and development of Indians. And we have got requests to invite international speakers also.
Yes, please do. Yes, you should definitely. You should understand what is the difference between India and there, so that you can bridge the gap.
So definitely. So we will be having a segment on for international speakers also. Yeah. So small journey. So yeah, just learning.
I have one more question for you. Before, I mean, I don't know how much time we have before we wrap up.
No,
but, I have one more question. Is that how did you get over your fear of the camera? Because every single person is camera shy, if they agree to it or not.
Okay, so I'll answer my part, then Mansoor will answer.
Yes.
So I had a community platform around 2 years back. Energy Writers Forum.
Right.
It was all about content writing and learning. So we used to host events. Right. And I was camera shy earlier. So I was a founder. So I was a place to be in front of the hosting, leading. We have done celebrated also. Got competition of 50 women were from different categories were awarded. So this was my this 2 years journey of Synergy Writers Forum. I went to visited many places: Delhi, Bangalore, Pune, and in Mumbai we did around 25 plus events. We had my team was also there. And so this was my Synergy Writers Forum helped me camera become confident. From that, now I am putting this Coffee Conversation. Second, before that, the BSS show. So I had my fears कि भाई script ready करके, but I've done my वो मेरे secret. So this is my journey. Yeah, Mansoor.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Now you've overcome it, and I can see you very confident talking in front of the camera.
Okay.
What about you, Mansoor?
Okay, so I'm really inspired by these Animal Planet, Discovery kind of people. I don't know if you know about, say, David Attenborough, Steve Irwin, and all that people. So when they used to be with wild animals and everything behind, and they used to have the ability to smile, like there's a crocodile going to eat you down, then this guy's standing over there and he's doing stuff like that, or he's running in Africa or something, and Sir David Attenborough is running behind the bloody snake and just holding it. So we used to always during school time and everything, we used to have these chota phones, chubby's dumb and everything, which have just chota cameras, just 2 megapixel ones. So I used to always put that on and used to run, and I used to run behind my friends, making them animals. We are running in the jungle now. I can see this big animal here. And I used to keep it in front, trying to record myself. So I was very inspired by that sort of way. So indirectly, I got out of I didn't realize I was getting out of my fear. It was more of like making fun of my friends, like they were animals. I was running behind them. But eventually, in the long run, it helped me to come up with my fear. Like okay, now I can talk in front of the camera.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, it took me a lot of time to just get over the fear of the camera. I felt like an idiot just talking to one small lens. I mean, you both had your own journey, and you are doing what you're doing right now. It's really commendable.
So to add on this,
And
I had a friend of mine known as John. Okay, so John used to always
uh-huh,
John was like this friend of mine who used to always he was into theater. Okay, so he
right.
used to always be like, go try talking to yourself in the mirror if you're like camera conscious or anything. Like the biggest supporter and your biggest critic is going to be you yourself. So he used
Yeah.
to always for going and like doing the theater on stage and everything. He used to always go in front of the mirror and he used to talk to himself. Today I'm going to have a good show. Today I'm going to do this. Today I'm going to do that. And I kind of like depicted that for me also. When I go in live and I always check my camera and I talk to myself for like 2 to 3 minutes, hoping that okay everything goes good.
See, but the point is when you talk in front of the mirror and someone walks in on you, they know like you're that you're weird. But when you talk to a camera, your parents are like, "Beta, क्या हो गया तुमको? तुम ठीक तो? क्या हो गया?"
And right now we are live.
समझ ही नहीं
Right
give
now
up.
we are live. So there are no
Live is
retakes.
fine. You're talking to three people at once. It's not a solo
See,
conversation.
live there are no retakes, but at events you get the chance to make up or someone else comes in and supports you. But in live, when you're speaking, you are handling everything.
Yes, yes. That is, I think life is the most scariest to be able to hold your own
Yeah.
thought and talk to people. It's very scary. Yes, definitely. And you've
So once
overcome that.
yes, yeah. So once initial there's fear was there. I was not when the series started. Ankita and Mansoor were in the forefront, and I had my small part. Then later on, they pushed me. It was like what do you say? They were stuck, and I had to continue the conversation. From that time, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Nice.
Random questions I started asking them from my personal experience, and I thought that I'm able to enjoy.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
So I was not what do you say aware of where I am.
Mhm.
I was just having the conversation,
Yes, and I
and
mean, now it's quite seamless for you. It doesn't seem as if you were really scared of the camera.
yeah. So last there was an episode with Rashi on Instagram secrets, and what happened? There was some technical challenge, and my two co-hosts disappeared, and the script was not there with me. And so four speaker went, they were there, and Rashi, they were initially for a few minutes they were there, and they couldn't. They had some technical challenge and couldn't log in. And now
Right.
I'm with Rashi. So by God's grace, I knew what questions were there, but what flow and everything. I just started my conversation, and he is a talkative like you, and the conversation
I
started
take that as a
going, and
compliment.
it went for around 40 minutes. It was like if I'm not ready to go, I was telling myself, और क्या बात है, और क्या? It was going on and both of us enjoyed the conversation, and the viewers also had good fun.
I'm glad. So,
You just have to
and
believe.
do you still have time? Do you still have time? I have one last question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this episode is very personal, and we'll remember it. It's
Yay.
different. It is a
So
two-way
one,
process. We are experimenting with you.
see, one, your title is Coffee Conversation. And it's not a conversation unless everybody's talking. It's like for at least 40 minutes, I was the only one talking. So I think everyone should get a fair chance. Only thing is, we don't have topic, it's a different matter altogether. But otherwise, it's a nice conversation. So my last question to you guys is that from all the interviews that you've taken, is there one thing that you want to take away, like you took away from any guest, that any experience or any dialogue that you really love?
See, every episodes have speakers have contributed their one-liners. So yeah, so all the coffee conversations have been interesting and memorable. Like design hacks. The speaker uh, is like you. She is a graphic designer and a well-established animator, and she's from what do you say, Gujarati medium. I convinced her to come. She had not been on any live, and she was not on Instagram. Because of us, we started a journey, and it, the beauty was she was very confident and answered all questions in English and Hindi perfectly. So, and she every episode has like on neuropsychology. So this person Ayushi shared some made one-liners. Yeah, I'm Jalli. So every speaker has some one-liners, remembrance, and has contributed to the viewers and to our personal journey also. Before, because what we do is we have conversation with the speaker. We try to understand that maybe aware if my team has been in touch with me, for promotion and all those things. If I make a video and all those things, we've got a team set of processes in team where we we first identify, we have a conversation, then we decide on the title. You have seen our title also. So every episode has a unique title to excite. The creative team makes it and all those things. So the guest speaker enjoys the process which we make it like they've seen so much follow up and so much thing we all do for one episode of the conversation episode. So that personal touch we bring. So that's why we say like, the speaker becomes like part of the family. And yeah, they have been wherever, whatever you need any support, count on us. We will be there. Whatever initiatives you are there, we will be there to support you. So that kind of bond we have. I hope we have established with you also.
Yes, definitely. I'm just going to call you up the next time I meet him.
Yeah. So Mansoor,
Yeah. So
something you can also share.
okay. So the best part about what I like about Coffee Conversation is whenever we go to get a speaker, so I get a chance to speak to them first. Okay. So when I get a chance to speak to them, I understand it. Like when I had a conversation with you, remember, I was trying to understand your point of view, where you come from, what you do, and then that first conversation that you have with a particular person really hits hard home. It's like, okay, I'm going to interview this person, but I really want to know some insights what I think the viewers will not able to get because I'm talking to this person personally one-on-one. So that's very like a miraculous thing for me, That's something like I yet remember like having this conversation this on Zoom. I think it was IPR, right, Amir? Yeah. So
Professor.
Yeah, with Professor Suman and Singh. So she was like, we had these two females, okay, professors, and other one is like she's a company secretary. And I remember having a conversation with them and separately, and they both were like, when I had the first conversation on the phone, I was like, okay, these people are not going to be team players. No, they're not going to be team players. And everyone is like so insightful about their own journey, their own this and that. And then they suddenly came up on Zoom, okay, and I was shocked the amount of respect and that gratitude they both had for each other. It was like, wow, you were asking one question to her and she's like, no, you take the question, you answer it. Or, you take this. And it's very changing, like when you talk to someone personally, it's a very different thing. But when they go on live or on Zoom, it's a very different ball game overall, It's a very
I get it. I understand. Even I do the same thing. So I know what you're talking about. It's like there are two different personalities that they have. You don't know what is going to project when, but it's really beautiful to talk to people and understand. You understand everybody's human.
right.
You understand they're just human. It's not a celebrity. It's not a person who has come from a very low level to some successful level. It's just a person who has gone through their struggles and they just reach somewhere and they're like, "Hurry, पहुंच गए." बता देगा, बता दो. It's that attitude that they have, which is really beautiful. So yeah. So well, these are my questions. I can ask more, but I think
No,
being a
you'll have to
wonderful
invite. You'll have to invite us to be on your Unsettling podcast.
I don't mind. I'll do a live with you guys again, and then I'll ask you so many questions. And we'll just sit
So
and
we
chat.
are.
Like it's a chat show.
Yeah. So, yeah. Look forward. So all things have to come to end. So, the, we ourselves were very surprised that this format we will try to implement in our other episodes. So thank you, Amrita. But now, talking about the Emerging India Forum, I'd like to inform our viewers we are having upcoming webinars next week. One is on 26th, Q&A on share filing. A CA expert on income tax will be there. This we are doing with Lions Business Network, part of Lions District International. Then on Saturday, we are doing creative design, again with Alliance Business Network, and do join in for these two events. And we have got a calendar full of for September on MS Office Essential, then LinkedIn, then video editing, then video making with in video. So many new topics are there, and then coffee conversations on IP, on digital technology, and many new speakers will be coming up. So do watch our social media handles. We are on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, the Emerging India Forum. And thank you all the viewers. Thank you, Amrita, and thank you, Lions Club of Mumbai Shining, and all our well-wishers who support us from behind and connect us with, help us in all different ways. And to our team, especially who are our backbone from the designing, from content writing, and so many things, video editing, and yeah. So it's lovely working with everyone, and thank you, our speaker. Viewers who have come on this lovely Friday, 7:30 time, and yeah. So happy Raksha Bandhan to everyone, and enjoy your weekend with your family and your family safe, and enjoy the streets. So now is the time. Come out of your home, go meet your sisters, your family members. So it's a time to be in person. 2 years we have been away. Let us all go and meet your family members and give them a warm hug and celebrate in person, not on Zoom. Wherever it's possible, do it in person. Very important. So enjoy the festival in person.
Yes, it's been 2 years, and definitely if you can go and meet, and if it takes you guys, definitely go meet your family. And thank you so much, Amir. Thank you, Mansoor. It's been really
Thank
wonderful
you.
conversation. And I definitely, as I said, my talisman, I felt like I was on call. Also, coffee with Karan merged together somehow.
Okay.
And it's a really lovely initiative that you have. Where you're talking to wonderful people, and I think I'm just going to come to one of your webinars, which you mentioned recently.
Sure.
So if anyone else is interested, definitely come join and do follow their work. They're doing amazing work. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
Thank you,
So
guys.
sign up, everyone,
Bye.
and
Bye.
my coffee.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.